Alright, hello gamers, Muckluck here, and we are back with our tour of all the boon-providing DPS supports in Guild Wars 2. This is for endgame PvE for raids. Once again, not a guide. This is basically me trying other people's guides and going on a tour through all of these classes and trying out what it's like. I am an experienced Guild Wars 2 player, but not experienced with this build, and I'm giving my thoughts on how easy it was to learn, my thoughts, how to, its strengths, weaknesses, things that I felt when I tried it out. This is the alacrity providing BLADESWORN. So first off, a very short demonstration just to show that I have kind of got a handle on how to play this. There will be mistakes made. I've been playing this for about 2 hours now. So without further ado, we're looking at the golem and we are going to use our heal and the flow button to get some flow, and then we're going to hit it, and then we're going to charge this up and do a slash, which gives our party some stuff. And then we're going to do all this stuff, and then tactical overload again, and then we can do another dragon slash, and then we could use mine to reset dragon slash, and hell, we could do one more just to spice things up and do this stuff, and then we could use throw cartridge and then pistol 5-4, which is a huge burst of damage. Use the axe skills while we're waiting. We can charge up and do another one of these, and then we can just burn these skills right here and use mine to reset the cooldown of the slash and do this and tactical reload. Just do all this stuff again, put this away, use our pistol skills and use our axe skills, and then go back into the dragon slash, charge that up, and 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think that's long enough time. We got 23,000 damage per second, and we're at 89% boon uptime and climbing. Not sure, I must have made a mistake and dropped the ALAC at some point. I'm not sure when that happened, but during the strikes that I did, I had much better alacrity uptime and stuff like that. I swear this doesn't usually happen, but you get the idea. I have the general basics down. So how does this build work for people that have never played this and they're curious about it? So I got my information from a combination of Guild Gen's Power ALAC BLADESWORN and Snowcrow's, that's Guild Gen's Power ALAC BLADESWORN, and Snowcrow's has a Power ALAC BLADESWORN, but it's in their legacy guides, which means it needs to be updated. So some of the information I got was out of date, and I had to do my best with what I had. So the general gist of it is BLADESWORN, they take this trait right here, and it allows them to provide a very nice, like 10 seconds of alacrity whenever they do one of their huge slashes. Now, the cool thing is, as I understand it, just by changing traits, they go from a pure DPS to an alacrity provider. Similar to Chrono with how easy it is to swap. I think you can just use the same gear, same weapons, same rotation. You just change that trait and you're now an ALAC provider and your damage will be lower. Or change it back and you're now doing more damage. So I would say one pro for this class is you're almost learning two builds while you learn this. You are learning DPS that provides ALAC and you're also learning DPS. Generally the way it works is you build up flow by doing stuff. At the start of the fight you can use flow stabilizer and or to the limit, which gives you some flow, and you get some just throughout the fight. Whenever you have enough and this is off cooldown, you go into Dragon Trigger. That goes up to 5 bullets. You can fire it with just instantly, but it'll do like no damage, but it will provide the boons. But if you charge up to 5 bullets, you get these big smacks. Like that was 86k, and I would frequently hit for 100k. You can use Dragon Spike Mine to reset the cooldown of Dragon's Trigger, and do this, and then once again charge it up again, and whack, and there's 102k there. So there's a running joke that this is like a 1 APM build because you spend like so much time charging it up and just, not really doing anything. But then every time you do those big slashes, it is like 10 seconds of alacrity in a huge area around you. 600 radius. This rivals that Herald boon radius, the massive range for boon application. So many supports wish that they applied boons on that big a radius. So very easy to have the boon hit your whole party in that regard. You can run, I'm running I think full berserkers with a couple of pieces of assassin's gear right now, Rune of the Dragon Hunter, Sigil of Force and Accuracy on the axe and pistol, and full bers over here with Relic of the Thief. And again, I'm copying guides that were possibly out of date, but that's what worked for me. And again, I was doing, when I played correctly, 100% uptime on ALAC with 23k DPS, which would, drop the more mechanics run a fight. One of the worst fights I actually did was Whisper of Jormag. Whisper of Jormag, and also Jade Junkyard. 2 strike missions that I consider to be very, very easy on most characters I play. But on this character, anytime you do a Dragon Slash, you spend a lot of time doing this, like charging, wham! So it's almost like you're doing a casting bar, but with a really long cast time compared to any other ability in the game. So the Whisper of Jormag, if you're just, hammering out lots of abilities, and then he does that thing where he uppercuts you and you fly up into the air and then fall back down, he interrupts the last thing that you were about to do. If you were charging a Dragon Slash, you're like charging, uppercut. And then, well, you've done like no DPS for the last 3+ seconds, and then you got no payoff at the end. You did not get to do that 100k hit, and your party didn't get Alacrity. So if you get interrupted during your slashes on this character, it's extremely punishing. Extremely. Now you do get a few seconds of stability every time you go into Dragon Trigger. Well, I should correct that. It has an 8-second internal cooldown, but often when you go into Dragon Trigger, you get a few seconds of stability, which absolutely helps. Additionally, when you go into Dragon Trigger, the 4 button, I just messed it up, hold on. The 4 button gives you an Aegis, and the 5 lets you reposition. And then the 1 through 3, the 1 is a slash around you, the 2 is a, 1 is a big slash around you, and the 2 button is a slash and a line if you need to hit and also reposition, but it's much less damage. And the 3 is a projectile slash if you need to hit and it's much less damage. So it's like, instead of 100k, you might do 50k, but you can reposition if the boss is repositioning, or shoot a ranged attack if the boss is already repositioned and you're left behind. Problems I had though is like Whisper Jormag. I'd be charging and then the party would phase him and he'd go invulnerable, and we'd get teleported out of the room, or he would like stun us and I'd get thrown up into the air, which that particular move pierces through stability. Essentially, he had lots of things that interrupted you, and then I could not get the slash off. And because of that, it would not give the party boons. So my boon uptime on that fight was terrible. And then on Bone Skinner, like again, he's just a big fat target dummy, I was 95% uptime on Alacrity. So that was good. As far as how it feels to play, the term one-trick pony comes to mind. I can do one thing, and I can do it decently well, and if you need anything else from me, that's a dang shame. You unga bunga, and you pulse Alacrity. I'm not really pulsing out any other boons. I don't really feel like I can take anything off the bar. I feel pretty locked in to, like, Dragon Spike Mine and Flow Stabilizer feel required for the build. I guess you could take overcharge cartridges off if you were just trying to get, like, your group really needed the stability banner or the Aegis banner or something, but it doesn't feel like I have flex slots. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's always welcome. I've been playing this class for 2 hours, but it doesn't feel like I have flex slots. So it just feels like, I'm a one-trick pony. This is what I do, the end. Couple of things I noticed while playing this build for 2 hours I would love for them to fix. While trying to learn this build, if you go into the hero panel and go to weapon skills, the gun saber and the dragon trigger are not in here. They came out at the same time as pistol offhand, and it's in here, but gun saber and dragon trigger are not on this list. So it makes it a little bit tougher to learn those. They need to be added to this list. Another thing, this is not a bug, just something that made me go, huh? Because, again, I'm not a warrior main, but the pistol skills aren't ranged. So, like, here's an enemy, here's a pistol skill. It didn't hit him. And then the pistol 4 is a lunge, and that also didn't reach him. So the way you normally use it is you get, like, right by his back, and then 5 is like a shotgun that knocks you back, and 4 moves you back forward. But the pistol skills are melee range, and the sword skills are ranged. And I just think that's weird. But you know what? If the Mesmer can turn a greatsword into a cannon, why can't the warrior turn a pistol into a melee weapon? Yeah, why not? Just pistol whip enemies. That's fine. So yeah, that's just something I thought was funny. Warrior offhand pistol is melee, and warrior gun saber is ranged. I knew, as someone who's PvP'd against warriors for years, I knew the gun saber had a ranged attack. I did not know about the offhand pistol thing, because I never see that in PvP. And I haven't played this much. Gunblade 3, that's one right here, artillery slash. Surprisingly hard to find information on this. So it says if you spend 1 ammo, it's a cripple. If you spend 2 ammo, it's a daze, and 3 ammo, it's a stun. And I was trying to find out how much of a CC it is. First of all, it doesn't say on there, like, you see this says Defiance Break 100. This doesn't say Defiance Break. Now, there's a lot of skills that need their Defiance information on there. So I went to the wiki, and the wiki also, on the Defiance Break page, which has like almost every skill in the game on here, does not have artillery slash. So I could not find it. So we had to do some testing, and I think if you have 3 charges of artillery slash, it's about 200 Defiance Break. But it was shocking to me that neither in the game nor on the wiki could I find that information. So that was really buried in there. Aside from that, this build does not have a lot of CC. You've got the artillery slash, which usually, again, according to these guides that may be outdated from Jen and Snowcross, that you are using the artillery slash in your DPS rotation. You can also double use overcharge cartridges. You can double tap it, which is a big DPS ability, so you don't really want to do that. And that does the cartridges, and then it detonates them for a bunch of damage. So that's 232 break bar damage. So that's a little bit, but that was kind of it. That was kind of it. Most of the CC in BLADESWORN is on this trait, which is the DPS trait, not on the Alacrity trait. If you take the Alacrity trait, you don't get the big CC on your Dragon Slash. If you take the DPS trait, your Dragon Slash is a huge CC every time you do it, and that's where they get like the most of it. One correction in my chat: Gunblade does more damage if you're in melee, but yes, it does have a ranged attack, but it does more damage if you're in melee, because then the ranged and the melee portion hit it. Yes, that I knew. If I said that differently earlier, I wasn't trying to be misleading. I just thought it was funny that this had longer range than the pistol. That's all I was laughing at. So besides that, a couple of like glitch tooltips and CC information that was hard to find, and that one funny thing with the pistol. The build felt okay. I was able to pick up and learn this very easily within less than 10 minutes after reading these guides and then, setting the build. Now, granted, I have, gear with stat selection on it, so within 10 minutes of like fixing the gear and copying the build from these websites and then trying it out on the dummy, I was able to break 20k DPS and also keep up the boon 100% of the time. There were many builds I've tried during this tour. I was not able to do that within 10 minutes. It took me a lot longer. Then there's Catalyst that I was never able to do it. So I would say that this is not too bad to pick up and learn. If you're interested in learning this, it is pretty easy to pick up, I would feel like. BLADESWORN cannot weapon swap because they get the gun saber, so you effectively have 3 weapons. You've got your base weapon, which is axe pistol. You've got the gun saber, you could swap to it almost any time. And then dragon trigger is the one that you go into just for like the huge slash, and then you go back out of it. So you've effectively got 3 weapon sets plus the skills over here, but I found it extremely straightforward and not too bad. Now, can you do a whole lot better than I did? Abso-freaking-lutely. Again, I've played it for about 2 hours, and I settled on around like 23k DPS. If you learned the rotation better than I did, if you were using better food buff, I was using generic cake, which is just like plus all stats. If you were using like sharpening stone or something like that, you would get even more out of it. But I would say it's easy to learn, very straightforward, and it doesn't do much else. I think that kind of summarizes the ALAC BLADESWORN. And I actually got a message from Snowcross a few minutes ago because I've been telling them about my escapades. ALAC BLADESWORN is actually on their list of things to update, like in the general future, so they're looking to get an updated one of that. So it's not a dead class, it's just a class that has some outdated guides. But that's kind of how I felt about it. Would I play this again in the future? Probably not. I didn't hate it, but it was just kind of fine. There were some fights it was incredibly frustrating. Like on Jade Junkyard, I'm trying to do a Dragon Slash and she's doing the explodey Quaggins and we're having to run away, or she does the vacuum and we have to back away. She goes invulnerable and we need to move to another area. All of those things forced me to be unable to Dragon Slash, and then Alacrity fell off my party. So if I was playing DPS ALAC Spectre or DPS ALAC Mechanist, or if, for example, I could have still done Alacrity in those moments for my party. This guy, much larger area to hit with the Alacrity, much easier to hit your groupmates with it, but you need to be able to hold still a couple seconds to do it. And you need to be able to hit the boss to get the flow at a decent rate. So there were some fights that have never frustrated me on other characters that were quite frustrating on this character. Like, again, Jade Junkyard, Whisper of Jormag, because they constantly interrupt your attempt to charge the dragon trigger. And although you can charge the dragon trigger and just fire it like instantly, like you could just do doot, doot. You notice that did 18k, not 100k. So you can keep up ALAC by doing, that, but your DPS goes into the dumpster. So it's not recommended. For example, the heal ALAC BLADESWORN, which I reviewed like a month ago, that one basically just did instant firing of the dragon trigger because it was using healing gear. It did not do much damage. So it didn't worry about charging it up because it was still gonna hit like a foam pool noodle. So it just fired it instantly. This build, you do wanna do damage in addition to alacrity, so you do wanna charge it up, and anything that interrupts that is very frustrating. But yeah, I think that about summarizes it. Easy to learn, very straightforward. You get to learn the DPS build and the ALAC build at pretty much the same time. So you could join groups, and if they already have an ALAC provider, you could just go boop and swap to another thing. Not a lot of CC in the base kit for the ALAC providing version. There's a lot of CC in the DPS version because that's on their trait. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. As always, if you've got any questions, problems, thoughts, concerns, or input on how I played this wrong, feel free to let me know, and I will fight you in the comments down below.